Volume.com is a free platform with live stream performances, concert broadcasts, and a video archive that includes performances by 311, Brothers Osborne, Waylon Jennings, Phil Lesh, Sheryl Crow, and more. All right, dig this, Shred With Shifty. This is my brand new signature model, out now through Fender. Look at that. It's the Cleaver American-made production model with P90s. It's bitchin'. It sounds great. This one has actually been almost destroyed by my good friend Fletcher from Pennywise. It's been Fletcher relicked. Even Fletcher couldn't kill this thing. The brand new Cleaver. Go get it now. Out now, out now, out now. I think it's something like this. Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Are you recording, Jason? Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Shred With Shifty's back. All right, so we have to do this totally different. So how should we do it? You know what I mean? We could do like action, like, shing. It's Shred With Shifty time. All right, it's Shred With Shifty time. Yeah. Now that's annoying. It's time for Shred With Shifty. Why don't you go get Noel Gallagher to be on the show? Why don't we just do a blooper reel? Are we recording now? Well, I think this is the opening. This is the opening. Aren't you sick of me trying to get you to sign up for my email list and my social media accounts? Aren't you tired of that? Just do it already. And then I won't have to put this. If everybody that watched this show did that right now, I wouldn't have to bother with it in the beginning of this thing. You know what I mean? Aren't you people just glad that I'm not trying to sell you my records and concert dates right now? Look, you know what I'm about to tell you. You can always watch ad-free versions of Shred With Shifty over at volume.com/shifty. And there's extra content that you only get there. Isn't that incredible? So get on over there, watch it. Let's go. All right, on today's show, we've got country music superstar Keith Urban, who's got a brand new record out called High, produced by the legendary Dan Huff. But we're actually going to break down the solos from a couple of his older songs. We're focusing on Stupid Boy and Tumbleweed today, which run the gamut between tasteful Knopfler-inspired sweet licks and total wah-wah ripping shred, which to my ear kind of sums up Keith Urban's guitar playing perfectly. So plus, of course, we talk gear, we talk tone, we talk his personal history and all that sort of stuff. This is Keith Urban on Shred With Shifty. Keith, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm good, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. Good. What are you playing there today?
I've got a 57 Junior and I guess you can't see it there. It's a high-powered Tweed Twin, 1959, little tube screamer and a bit of delay. That's about it.
Nice. Am I right in thinking that you have an enormous vintage guitar collection? Maybe we're seeing some of that behind you right now.
That's all amps and stuff behind us. Yeah, I do have a few. Thank God. I mean, it's just guitars I've always loved the sound and feel of, and
sure.
Was able to acquire a few.
Is it true that you have Waylon Jennings' leatherbound Telecaster?
I do. I wish I brought that in today. It's at my house. Yeah. One of two. I think his son, Shooter Jennings, has the other one.
How did you come into possession of that? Like, do you ever take that out on the road? Do you ever play it?
Yeah, I loan it out to people too, because certain, really good guitar players that I trust want to take it out and use it for different things or use it in a video or something. It was it was owned by Reggie Young, who's a great session player, and Reggie was touring with the Highwaymen in the '90s in the house band for them, in the band for them, the touring band. And he told me the story that Waylon came in one day into his hotel room with this case and just said, "Also, I want you to have that." And he opens up the case and it's this leather-bound telly. And it's actually not a telly, it's a Broadcaster, which is insane. I didn't know that when I got the guitar until I got the guitar. So it's 1950 Broadcaster. And he just gave it to Reggie. And the only reason he said he gave it to him was it was too fucking heavy. That's what he said. That's what he told Reggie. And it does. It weighs a ton. So Reggie had it for the next 25 years, I think, or plus, and then decided it was time for him to sell that. And he auctioned it. I wished I'd known about this guitar because I would have saved him the hassle of auctioning it. But he put it up for auction, and I found out about the auction. And long story short, I was trying to figure out how to register a bid on this thing. And unbeknownst to me, my wife wanted to get it for me as a gift. And she didn't want me to bid on it. So she was telling my people that helped me with all the finance stuff. She's like, make sure he doesn't figure out how to register to bid on this thing. And anyway, they kept stalling me, and I missed it. I missed the opportunity to bid on this thing, and I was heartbroken.
Oh my! Were you like, you don't tell me how to spend my money? You're my business manager.
They did a great job going, oh, we're trying this. We just can't seem to figure it out, And
yeah,
I was heartbroken because I just imagine this amazing guitar is now gone, probably overseas somewhere. It's probably in somebody's vault or under their bed, and we'll never see it again. And my wife walks in, she goes, "I just got your Waylon Jennings guitar." And I was just, it was insane. And it's just a beautiful sounding, beautiful playing guitar, but it is really heavy.
Well, it just kind of validates my theory that cats from those days are way less nostalgic, or were way less nostalgic about their gear than we all are.
Oh, it could have been high as a kite too. I don't know. I mean, it's Waylon. Anything's possible. He's the real deal, That's why I've been a Waylon fan my whole life. So having this guitar, or the way I see it is, I'm the current curator of this guitar, the current caretaker.
Yeah,
that's it. It's an amazing guitar.
Kind of like Marty Stewart has Clarence White's B-Bender, that same kind of thing. That's exactly. Very cool. Hey, listen, we're going to talk a lot about your guitar playing today, but considering you were born in New Zealand and grew up in Australia, I just have to get this out of the way first. Do you surf?
I don't. I skateboarded a little bit, and I loved racing BMX bikes all through the 80s, but I never surfed.
Oh, okay. How is that possible coming from Australia? It's like the national sport down there.
I know, yeah. I think this is my surfboard. I mean, this is where I spend all my time, Chris.
Okay, well, you have completely dashed I had a genius business idea for you. Since you don't surf, you probably don't follow this stuff, but wave pool technology has exploded in recent years, and down in Melbourne is a really cool wave pool called Urban Surf. So I was thinking, you open a franchise in Nashville, Keith Urban Surf. Yeah. And then when I'm in Nashville recording, I'll have somewhere to go.
I see you surf. There you go.
Exactly. Well,
when did you start surfing?
I grew up at the beach. I mean, I grew up in Santa Barbara, so I grew up at the beach, but I didn't really start surfing until I was in my 20s. So it's never too late, Keith. We can get you on a board.
When did you start playing guitar?
When I was about 11.
Right.
When I was about 11. I mean, for me, like what you just said, I mean, this was my everything in those formative teenage years, which probably accounts for why I didn't surf as a teenager either.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into some guitar stuff. So we're going to talk about some of the solos from Stupid Boy today. But before we get into all that, I wanted to ask you about when you moved to Nashville. And I know you had been making music down in Australia on your own. So I wanted to see, what was the Australian country music scene like that you were coming up in prior to moving to America?
I had a sort of a good mixed musical upbringing. My dad's a drummer. So I grew up in a real musical family. My grandfather was a piano player. And my folks gave me a ukulele when I was 4. And my dad said I could strum it in time with songs on the radio. So when I was 6, they got me a teacher and bought me this cheap little, I think it was a Suzuki nylon string guitar. And a teacher just taught me basic chords from the age of 6. And so all the songs I learned were just stuff on the radio, you know, just top 40, whatever was playing on the radio at the time. Mixed in with my dad's record collection, which was all American country. So Charlie Pride, Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, Don Williams, just Glenn Campbell, all this American country, Waylon, of course, and Willie. So I played all that stuff and top 40. And that kind of really formed the foundation of all the music that I love.
Well, so, yeah, I hear a lot of like rock and roll and pop and stuff in your lead guitar work. So who were your like rock and roll lead guitar influences?
I was thinking the other day, you know, there's so many guitarists that were influences on me that I didn't know who they were. Because, you know, a guy by the name of Ian Burnson, for example, a Scottish comedian, a Scottish guitar player who was playing on all these songs that I loved. Wuthering Heights by Kate Bush. He plays a solo on that. He plays a solo on Eye in the Sky by Alan Parsons Project. He was the guitarist in a band called Pilot. So January and Magic, and which has now become the Ozempic ad, which is heartbreaking. Magic's such a great song. And those solos, they're so melodic. They're so immediate. He was a big influence, and I didn't even know who he was. I just learned all these solos, and it turned out to be this one guy. It's amazing.
And who were your country and like lead guitar, specifically lead guitar influences?
Yeah, and again, I think I was just learning solos off records, and I hadn't become a credit junkie yet, so I wasn't paying attention to who was playing it. Look, I think the first guy that I really sort of clocked as a name and a face and a sound was Mark Knopfler. When I discovered Dire Straits. And I think a lot of the sort of bridge and fusion between pop, rock, country, all of it probably came from Mark. You know, the way he distilled everything down from Hank Marvin and Chet, of course, and his own influences into what he did. And it was so melodic and very vocal. So Mark was a massive influence. But country-wise, probably Ray Flacke on the Ricky Skaggs records was where I discovered chicken picking. I know Albert Lee was doing it, but Ray was the guy who was sort of, when I started reading, I was like, God, Ray is the king, man. Ray Flacke is the shit, you know? So I discovered him when I was about 15, and I was in a band called Fractured Mirror, which was this heavy metal band. So we were doing Judas Priest, Scorpion, White Snake.
What?
Iron Maiden.
Now you're speaking my language here, Keith.
Yeah, and I was just a guitar. I wasn't they had a lead singer, so I was just playing guitar. But I had discovered Ray Flacke at the exact same time. So I'm like, I was in this band for 1 year. We're playing a gig. I had a Strat, put a DiMarzio humbucker in the bridge, got a Marshall stack, and here we are playing full on Judas Priest, and they throw me a solo, and I bust out this chicken picking solo. This big Marshall stack, and I remember vividly the lead singer looking at me like, "What the fuck are you doing?" and they fired me. So I knew I had an identity crisis right then and there.
Too funny. It's interesting you say Mark Knopfler, because I do hear a lot of his style and tone in the Stupid Boy solo.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I mean, he's a massive influence.
Well, speaking of like the more the chicken picking side, what's like your most sort of Danny Gatton, Albert Lee ripping? Because you seem to kind of go seamlessly between the tasteful, smooth stuff and like nasty chicken picking. So what would be like your most ripping chicken picking lick?
Oh, well, I don't know about that. I know you've had Paisley on, so he's the king of that for sure.
Yeah, sure. I actually interviewed Brent Mason as well. So
Brent, my God.
That was pretty amazing too.
His precision and pocket is ungodly. It's crazy. I think I'm tuned down a half step too. tell you, the other guy I really love is Pete Anderson, and the stuff he did
Oh,
on Dwight's
yes.
records was like insane. That like shit. Where are we? What was it? I can't even think what key that song was in now. Anyway, his stuff was killer.
It's funny you mentioned him. I love his guitar playing. There's a lick. That is literally exactly what that's the exact part that I was just gonna point out. I always wondered how he actually fretted it, because it's so weird that.
Yeah.
I can't even remember it now. What is it? It's like, as a rock guitar player, it makes no sense how it lines up. I love it.
He had that really nice like it really was just pedal steel pace.
Yeah.
You know, beautiful player.
Like bending one string a whole step and one string a half step. He was the master of that stuff.
Master
so
at
good.
it. Yeah, and that you're right there. Where I take that off. That. That's just ingenious. I don't know where he thought of that. It's crazy.
I know. I always wondered, like, was that like an edit? Is that like 3 leads that they edited
Possibly.
together? Because it's like it doesn't. I've never seen anybody fret something quite like that. You know?
Yeah. It's killer.
You know, I coming from a rock background and sort of finding country later, I always am in awe of players like yourself and Pete Anderson that can rip with no gain. Like that to me is is just the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, there's nowhere to hide. That's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, it tightens you up for sure. All right, let's get into Stupid Boy. The song is in E flat, and you're capoed at the 1st fret. And I got to tell you, I was watching some footage of you playing this one live, and you know, it's one thing to do it on a recording, but live, you're capoed at the 1st fret, which is immediately for me throws my sense of where to be off, because you're half stepping in the wrong direction.
Good, the dots mean nothing now.
You're not only playing the lead, but you're singing over it at the same time. It was like the ultimate, you know, like I was like, dude, why aren't you like riding a unicycle and juggling while you're at it? It looks so hard. Does that like, and also with the capo, bending strings, how do you bend strings with the capo on without it, you know, how do you finesse that? Because for me, if I bend a string, the capo grabs it and then now everything's out of tune.
Yeah, I mean, the capo's pretty tight, so... And I'm drop D as well. Shoo! Yeah, so long as I don't go too close down to the capo for bending. If I'm bending way up here somewhere, I'm far enough away from it where it can hold everything pretty good. But yeah, it will go out occasionally, and then you just have to, well, you know the trick. You have to adjust all your chord shapes to just compensate a little bit.
The ultimate string bending it like a, you know, 3 cents back into tune.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so well, let's look at there's like the quick solo that's kind of in the middle of the song that starts somewhere up around like the 16th fret with that. How are you fretting that?
That's where I am, yeah. I'm at, I'm bringing my volume down a little bit here.
I love in this solo, there's a lot of those like half-step bends and then like kind of accenting the notes that you don't normally hang on in a solo, like that one. Or wait. Like that, like if the song's in E flat, whatever that is, and F. Where does that influence come from with some of those?
It's a great question. I don't know. It's probably, for me, it's how I would sing it. You know?
Yeah.
If you hear me, yeah, yeah. Like you would sing it that way. So for me, I'm playing it as I would sing it. If I was just,
Yeah.
whatever. I love 1.5 step bends, which is, and I think of course I'm in capo, so, but a lot of that stuff comes from Gilmore too. That,
Yeah.
and he does a bend and a half on one of those things there, and I've always loved that. So stupid, wait.
Okay, so on the record you're singing over that little end bit, so it's not like it's just you're bending up to it.
Yeah, what is it? Hard and so right in your head. So the ever dream and you crush the place. I love pulling that sort of harmonic B string, so it's just got this anger to it.
Got a little dirt on it.
Yeah, I mean, because you could just do it with just that high E, and it would be. But if you kind of hit a few of the strings, you get that. And I love the chaos a bit more.
Yeah. How did you get so good singing and playing at the same time?
Growing up in a 3-piece band. I mean, I played in a 3-piece band for a long time, and we had a song called "Walk in the Country," which. And the riff was running from the rat race just as fast as I can. I take out my time so I can breathe. I'm going where it's blowing. The little walk in the country with me. So it was necessity having to play and sing at the same time.
Because you're covering all the parts.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's amazing. That is, I mean, I struggle with that. So I know you're buddies with Jaron Johnston, and he produced my latest solo record, and we wrote a song on it together that has this crazy riff. That I didn't think about it, when we were recording it, but I was like literally got done with it and then tried to learn it with my band, and I was like, I honestly just can't play it and sing it at the same time. So it's sort of, and I'm the only guitar player in the band too, so it's
right.
That's been like a real learning curve there to try to work that out.
But what do? You just simplify the riff?
Well, I tried a couple of different things. I literally tried just going. And just, not doing it, and that didn't work, because then the song just, it's the chorus, like the song wouldn't lift or kind of work right. So I just sat on my couch for like a week, and I was texting Jaron just going, I am cursing your effing name right now. Like, oh my God, it's so hard. And I just have gotten it to a point where it's like, I kind of sing it worse than I probably could, and I play it worse than I could, but together it's just kind of, it just kind of gets the job done, maybe in like 10 years, it'll be fine.
Yeah. I've had that with comp solos that I've done with Dan Huff, where we've comped the solo and that classic thing. And I mean, you must have had it with the Foos, I'm sure. And then you've comped the solo together and you're like, oh shit, it sounded so good in the studio. Now I actually have to figure out how to play it.
Right, yeah. Because how do I get from here to here in one breath? Yeah. Well, all right. Let's jump into the end. That's the solo in the middle of the song. But there's that nice, big, beautiful outro solo that goes on, and a lot of it is kind of like working around that same theme that's in the chorus is that business. So I wouldn't mind seeing how you do that, but really it's that big pull-off lick at the end that I'm curious to see how you're fretting and what the pattern really is.
Yeah, shoot. Get that, where, yeah, that's the basic start of it, right?
Yeah. And then there's even some like...
Yeah. It repeats some of that stuff. Yeah, it starts repeating some of those aspects of it. This is all Knopfler influenced because of the long outros he would do on things like Tunnel of Love and a lot of those songs. He did these just amazing, long, extended outros on those songs. When the song finishes and then it just didn't quite finish and took back off again, I just adored that. And I've done that on quite a few songs now.
It's so tasty, like just it's that classic thing of it's what you didn't play that makes it just like it just opens up.
Yeah, I mean, Mark's a master at that stuff.
But it's that big lick at the end. I guess I really want to see that something like that. Which I love those kind of pull off licks, and I feel like we all have our own versions of that. And everybody kind of works out a different pattern for whatever the song is they're doing. But how do you fret that, and what is the pattern on this one?
Well, and again, I mean that's classic Knopfler, right? It's the it's that.
Yeah.
Also, Little River Band had a song. Australian band had a song called "Help Is on Its Way." And at the very end of that song, their guitar player, I think it was Graham Goebel, maybe it was the other guitarist. It's a really melodic solo, and what is it? It goes, where is it? Where are we? Let's see. Shoot me. That's the solo. That's the little thing at the end of this Little River Band song. So it definitely was a take from a bit of Knopfler and a bit of this LRB thing.
Yeah. Where is that? Up here somewhere?
Yeah.
Like around the 11th fret, maybe?
Yeah, I've forgotten what I did now. Shoot. Nah, it's hard to just be out of context with it because so much of it is
I know,
flowing,
right? Yeah, right. I mean, this is how I heard it. So tell me if I'm getting in the ballpark. I heard it like... And then there's even a little...
That's it.
Maybe some of that in there?
Yeah. I always love that thing. That's almost sounds like it's a delay, like a delay pedal doing it.
Right. Yeah, playing around with that toggling off the major 7.
Yeah. Because everything is there. I mean, everything you want is there.
Right, yeah. It almost sounds a little like Eric Johnson-y or something.
Yeah, and Lindsay Buckingham, too, was another influence.
Oh, yeah.
He's big on all that stuff because of all his, I guess, his banjo foundation that he grew up playing, a lot of banjo. So his playing is... I love all these guys that I can't quite tell where their influences are. Like some of that Knopfler stuff just sounds like him. But I'm sure it's a bit of Gilmour, it's a bit of everybody. But Lindsay, like I can't hear anybody's influence in Lindsay. So I've always been a big Lindsay Buckingham fan, too.
Yeah, he's like, his tone is so good.
I know, right?
Yeah,
and
so good.
He doesn't sound like anybody, and nobody sounds like him. You just like...
Well, I know this is a guitar show, but I always think about Mark Knopfler's vocals as being something that were so, like, he's such a great stylist, but nobody ever really ripped off his vocal style. You know, like, there's nobody ever sounds like him.
I always think occasionally, I've heard Chris Martin on some Coldplay stuff sound eerily like Knopfler's thing. I think he gleans a bit from that. He may not, but
interesting.
I feel like I hear a little bit of the Mark phrasing sometimes in his thing.
Yeah. Hey, on Stupid Boy, do you remember what guitar and amp and pedals, if there were any, that you were playing?
I should have written all of that. No, I don't know, and it's... And you must have this too. What actually made the final cut sometimes is a blur because you try different things Like, let's try this, try that. And you're doing it so fast, and you blow the solo, and then the thing's cut, and then you're like, and then you go, oh man, you're doing another song another day, and you go, oh, let's redo that solo really quick. This is a better tone. So I know that I played a junior, definitely played a junior. And I don't know if it just would have been through an amp and an overdrive pedal, probably an overdrive pedal of some sort. It was in the early 2000s. So on some of that early stuff, I was using like Lucky Snappers and Tube Screamers. Yeah, somewhere in there.
Lost in the, lost in time.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, do you have time to look at some of the guitar solo from Tumbleweed as well?
Yeah.
Could we jump into that one?
Yeah.
I actually asked Jaron the other day. I said, "Hey, I'm interviewing Keith. Which solo do you think we should focus on? What's his like most ripping?" He's like, "Oh, dude, he's got a lot of solos, but do Tumbleweed because I wrote it."
Of course. Spoken like a true hustler.
Exactly. All right. So I'm assuming this one is like drop D, but drop C sharp. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, because the whole guitar's in half step down, and then with a drop D. Yeah. So it's way down.
Do you remember on this one what guitars, amps, and all that sort of thing? And I hear a wah-wah or like some kind of filter or something in there.
Yeah, it's a wah. It's a 51 Nocaster. This is the guitar that I used on it.
Oh, wow.
We did it out at Henson Studios in Los Angeles because I was doing some overdubs out there. And I have a love-hate relationship with my Fractal. It's super versatile and fast at getting, good sounds. But I struggle to get feeling out of it because it's not air moving. But on that particular day, I had limited time, and we had the Fractal, and we dialed in a sound that was pretty good, and so that became everything on that sound is a Fractal, other than a wah, which I think actually might have been the wah in the Fractal, and I was just doing a MIDI foot controller for the wah in the Fractal.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
And do you play the Fractal live, or are you on the tube?
No, live I've been on the last tour. I was using a Marshall Super Lead 100 watt and a PRS J Mod, both 100 watt amps, running at the same time through two Jackson Ampworks cabs with 212s in each cab, and just running them both at the same time because they have different tonalities, so they're sort of together. They sound really good. I love doing that with amps. I often use this iPad Tweed Twin and a Vox AC30 together for the same reason.
Yeah.
They bring two complete different things together. It's a really good.
Do you dial them up kind of clean and then put a pedal in front of it for grit, or do you? That's how you do it? Okay.
Yeah. Just get them as maximum headroom out of them, as loud as I can get them before they break up. Maybe breaking up a little bit, and then just use the volume on the guitar for everything. Roll it back for rhythm, dial it up for solos and things like that.
Ah, old school. I like it. Okay, so Tumbleweed. It starts off with that big bend, and then you're doing some kind of open string, low string, like pull-off stuff. What are you doing there?
It's like that thing, right?
Yeah, I think there's like a... I don't know what the exact pattern is, but there's something down there.
At the beginning of the solo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's so on the A string it's... And then it was like an overdub of just dialing that, hitting that E and just dialing that thing all the way down. So live, what I did, same thing. I'm like, oh shit, how do I do this live? Because I love the guitar, but it doesn't have a tremolo, so I can't dive bomb it, which would be easier. And I tried a few.
You mean you're not going
guitars.
to put a Floyd Rose on a Nocaster?
I think you might be going from hell just even saying those words. But I tried a few guitars with that because it definitely was way easier to just dive bomb it. It was more exciting, but the guitars didn't sound right. So I figured, well, I'm already detuned. Like I'm already dropped an E. So if I can bend the string up really high and kind of just and then let it fall, I might be able to do something. So it ended up being like this. Kind of thing, you know, which in the chaos of live, it just gave something falling, you know.
Yeah.
Before you get to that whole thing.
Well, so how are you doing that? Is that all with your pick, or is that pick and fingers that?
It's all pick.
It's all pick.
Yeah. So I had Dunlop make me these picks. I love the Edge, and I always loved his little, you know, attack thing with the Hercos that he used, and then the Herdums that he also used with the little raised ridges on it. And ever since I was a kid, I never played it with the pointy end. I always liked the thick part.
Oh, wow.
So I always turned them upside down and was playing them that way anyway. So when I started playing Dunlop picks, or I had Hercos for a while too, I would use that grippy end to do that thing instead of that. Yeah. You know, just had more excitement and electricity. So that was part of it. So when you get to those, instead of it being like, if I was using the clean part of the pick, it would be versus it's just got more punk middle finger to it, which I've always
right. It's got urgency.
Yeah.
So what's that? There's that part that kind of closes it out. That it almost sounds like Metallica or something to my ear. It's like there's like an ascending kind of like slinky thing that happens. Something like what is that? How do you do that?
So I don't know what I'm doing because it's not the same thing every time. It is just a bit of actual chaos.
Right.
Because I'm not skilled in that area. So it's kind of what you just did. It's almost like just going, you know, just anything that's sort of chaotic nonsense falling in any direction, really, you know.
Chromatic.
But again, by kicking in that wah, so by doing that, so do it. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's just chaos up until my thing is like I always imagine the takeoff and the landing are really important. You know, like a gymnast. I don't know what happens in the middle, but I do know if you land and fall, that's probably not great. So stick the landing. As long as you stick the landing, you're all good.
That's we have the same rule. As long as we're all in tune and we start together and end together.
Yeah.
You know, the middle part, it'll take care of itself.
Totally. Yeah.
Hey, can we take some questions from the fans?
Of course, yeah.
Nathan Hickey wants to know if he could just gunsling for any band ever, who would it be?
Me? If I could gunsling for any band?
Yeah. Just just be the guitar player for a band. Who would that be?
What a great question. Shoot, man. McCartney's band would be great.
That would be pretty good.
You know, I mean, getting to play with Abe would be great, and Paul. But too many great bands out there. I always find those questions tricky because the reason I like that band is because I like that band. I don't want to get in there and make that band not that band, you know.
Well, Judas Priest might need a guitar player. You could have another crack at throwing some chicken picking in there.
Yeah, I'm your guy.
BVK Actual asks, what are his always on pedals?
None anymore. All through the 80s and 90s, I just had my CS1, you know, one of those blue compressor Boss pedals on all the time. And when I look back, I realized why. It's because I played things like PV Bandits and PV Renowns and solid state amps that were just so cold and sterile. And if you're going to do chicken picking and play all those things, you need compression. And I just left it on all the time. And I've had to relearn so much of the way I play by getting rid of it and having better amps, because a lot of my style is still dependent upon that compressor. But I don't I don't like I don't like the smoothness it gives anymore. I like a bit more. I like more teeth in everything.
Yeah. Okay. Keegan Ernst asks, can you ask him what he does when he practices? Like, are you somebody that's woodsheds guitar, or are you just working all the time, so you're just always playing?
Yeah, I'd say more of that. Probably like you guys, you're just playing all the time. I know if we're off the road for a long time, I just keep a guitar handy to just keep playing, just to keep everything moving more than anything. But I
Right.
also love just being away from it from a long time and missing
Yeah.
it, and that passion and excitement and exhilaration of getting back on it when you haven't played in a while
Oh,
yields
yeah.
some really good shit.
Especially when you have a new guitar. That's always the
Yeah.
inspiring thing.
Yeah, it really is.
Just makes you
isn't
do stuff.
it? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Odea Heather asks, I've always been interested to know if the rock band Cold Chisel, and in particular guitarist Ian Moss, was an
Yeah.
influence to Keith.
Yes, I actually took one lick from him. I played a solo on a song that Tim McGraw and Taylor Swift did called "Oh I Don't Care." And in the middle of it, there's a little Ian Moss lick. He did one of these. He did one of those one time in a song, and I always loved it. And that little ascending octave thing is in the middle of "How I Don't Care." Yeah,
Nice.
there you go.
Nice. Well, I can't let you out of here before we talk about your new record. You got a new record coming out. I'm not sure if it's going to actually be out yet by when we post this, but maybe around that time. It's called High.
Yeah.
I got sent a link to it the other day, and it sounds fantastic.
Thank you.
As always. What do you want to tell the good people about your new record?
There's more solos on it than there has been on previous records. I work a lot with Dan Huff, who every guitar player pretty much knows.
Sure.
I've worked with him mostly over the years. And in the last few years, I was working with all kinds of other people just to explore other ways of making records. And Dan came to me one day and he said, how come you're not playing as much guitar on your records these days? and I said, this shit.
He knew how to get you. He knew how to get you.
Yeah, no, it was, he's, and he knows me. He knows the way I make records and how I play, blah, blah, blah. And I said, there's shitloads of guitar on these records, Dan. They're textural, they're atmospheric. They take a different role. They're not a solo. And he said, why is there very few solos on your records? And I said, well, Dan, I don't just do a solo for the sake of a solo. I get a guitar, I sit in the control room, I hit playback after everyone's gone, and I respond to the track. But the last few records, track after track, I'd sit there and I'm like, it doesn't make me want to play, so I'm not going to force solo on there. So it's very organic, Dan. And Dan says, why doesn't the track make you want to play? Like, fuck you, Dan. That's a different question. Let me think about that. And it really did my head in. I was like, yeah, that's a better question. Why does it not make me want to play? So it affected me. And
interesting. So did you like when you work with Dan Huff? Do you write with Dan Huff to sort of get the songs together, or do you?
No.
Oh, okay.
And that's the other reason I ended up working with all these other producers is because they're all songwriters. Like I didn't work with producers that don't write. Every other producer I worked with other than Dan Huff is a songwriter on that song. That's how that ended up. From Greg Wells to all of them.
A lot of people asked about your friendship or relationship with Tom Bukovac as well. Is he on this new record?
He's not on the new record, but he's one of my favorite players. And again, a guy that doesn't sound like anybody. It's an amazing guitar player.
Yeah, ridiculous. Getting back to Dan Huff, did you watch that? There's a great video. It's long. It's like a couple hours long that he did recently of him breaking down a bunch of his famous guitar parts and sort of explaining how he got the. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, and like Man in the Mirror and all that.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, Scott Rodoka, another great guitar player, sent me that link, and I watched the whole thing. It was great. I learned a lot, and I've known Dan for 20 years, and there was a lot of things I learned.
Yeah. All righty. Well, cool, man. I assume you're hitting the road and out road dogging it when that comes out.
Yeah, next year, mostly next year. So
Okay.
this year's bits and pieces here and there, you know.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Good to
Appreciate it,
talk to
man.
you.
I've
Appreciate
always
it, man.
wanted to meet you and talk guitar with you, and I'm
Yeah,
so glad that we
likewise.
did
I
this.
wish it was longer. We'll do another one sometime down the track.
All right, that was Keith Urban on Shred With Shifty. What a great guest. Cool dude. Make sure you check out his new record, High, produced by Dan Huff. It's out now. Go stream it. And we'll be back real soon with Michael frickin' Schenker. Adios, amigos.
1, 2, 3.
Shred With Shifty is created and hosted by me, Chris Shiflett, and produced in partnership with Double Elvis, Volume.com, and Premier Guitar. Shred With Shifty is produced by my long-suffering friend, Jason Shadrick. Our executive producers are Brady Sadler and Jake Brennan for Double Elvis. Our video editor is Addison Savan. Graphic design by Megan Prawley. Engineering support by Matt Tahaney and Matt Bowden. Special thanks to Chris Peterson, Jamie Demas, Greg Necrone, Ben Holst, John Romero, and the entire Volume.com crew. Goddamn right, I'm a changed man. You see that? He inspired. I'm going country. I'm going country. Look at that. Yippee-yi-coyote.